How's everyone doing? Back with another episode of Rocket League Decision Making. Today, my guest is Brick. And I've been waiting for Brick to come on this for the longest time. He's one of the first people to reach out to me on Discord. But about Brick, grand champion for the last 7 seasons. He comes from Denmark, and he's got about 3,000 hours in the game. Sometimes he streams, and he has his own YouTube channel. And I'm going to ask him, how are you doing today, Brick?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
Doing great, man. Ready to ask you some questions. The first is going to be, what is your biggest strength in Rocket League?
Probably my understanding of the game. I feel like my ability to read what especially the opponents are going to do is what makes me good.
And then the flip side of that, what's your biggest weakness?
It's definitely a mix between my mechanical ability and my positional ability. I have a very strange playstyle in a sense because I tend to play a little bit more aggressively than I would usually do when I played a lot. And I play a lot upfield, which can generate a lot of good offense, but can also be pretty hard on the defense if the teammates I have isn't that comfortable with.
All right, here's a gimme. When you do play Rocket League, do you warm up?
Not at all. I pretty much just jump straight into the game and then queue up for a match.
Now I want you to think back 3,000 hours ago. What's one thing you wish you knew when you started playing?
Is how big Rocket League actually was on YouTube in those days. I saw the Sidemen play with John Sandman and Woofles and thought, whoa, these are really, really good players, and ended up checking their YouTube, and then I saw Neat Mike, and that kind of inspired me to pick up Rocket League again. And I feel like a lot more people would play Rocket League if they found it through YouTube.
You are now the head of Rocket League. What's one change that you would make to the game?
Oof, that's a really, really good question. I feel like right now the MMR difference between the best GCs and the lowest GCs is around 600 points, which is basically the same difference that between a GC and I think a Diamond 1.
Something like that.
Perhaps, yeah, something like that. And I feel like that's a really, really big difference in one rank. So I feel like they should change up the rank system in some way so there isn't this massive lump of people in one rank.
All right, now I want to talk style and get to know you as a player a little bit more. How do you like to play? Do you want to be aggressive or are you more reserved? I think you mentioned that you're aggressive, but what is it?
I tend to play really aggressive and kind of the first person to push up. Like I feel like it works well for me because I force them to make a decision, and then my teammates that are usually a little bit more secure in their touches and in their decisions can follow up and actually work with the play that the opponent actually decides to go with from my team.
I have a few more questions about you. The first is going to be how you've hit Grand Champion for 7 consecutive seasons. What's your proudest feeling behind being a Grand Champion? Do you have one defining moment?
The moment where I reached it the first time, definitely. I said I wouldn't stop playing Rocket League until I got GC. So the moment I actually reached GC back in Season 7, like the last day, felt really, really good. And that's still one of the best moments I have from playing Rocket League.
Inspiring. You have some videos that you've created for your YouTube detailing RL esports. I want to know what's the inspiration behind that.
With my YouTube, I started producing content for myself in the beginning, but slowly moved more and more towards Rocket League esports because I watched a lot more Rocket League. Plus, I got inspired by the whole Rocket League esports events, like Season 5. LAN was incredible to watch. The hype around it. I got caught up in Rocket League esports back in Season 3, and that was just as hype. So that's basically why
I personally think the RL esports content that you do is incredibly beneficial for anyone that wants to get into Rocket League esports, and very entertaining. But, Brick, as mentioned at the top of the interview, you're from Denmark, and I'm here to cause a little bit of controversy, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Europeans are known for football. They're known for it being way better than Americans. So tell me, why do Europeans make better Rocket League players as well?
Oof. I would say the thing I feel like I notice that European players do better than North American players is that they are more versatile in the way they play. I feel like Europeans are more well-rounded overall, but that's probably me that biased in some aspect.
All right. I'm going to have to ask an American GC why they think the flip side is true. Here we are, question number 10, the penultimate question. Brick, you can only choose one. Mechanics or positioning?
I would say mechanics. I feel like if you have really, really good mechanics, especially at lower ranks, you can compensate for bad positioning in some aspects. But I feel like if you have good positioning but no mechanics, you can't really utilize your positioning anyway. So I feel like mechanics would be the thing I would focus mostly on in the beginning, at least.
All right. Well, these were some great answers, but let's jump into some of your key moments. We'll take a look at those right now. All right, everyone, we are back. Time to check out some key moments. Brick, how do you feel the game went?
I feel like it was a bit of a mix of good and bad. I feel like we synergized pretty well. I feel like we had a lot of good chances to actually, do better in the game.
Yeah.
But I also feel like we solved a lot of problematic situations in the defense really well. So I feel like it's a good game to analyze, I guess.
I think so, too. I think we did a lot of things well. I am going to mention it just because of how upset I am. But both goals came down to a mistake from your teammate, a.k.a. me. And I really believe it was down to ping. Like both instances appeared differently on my screen.
It looked interesting, to say the least.
Especially the first one. All right, well, our key moment number one is actually probably about 20 seconds away, and it's arguably your finest moment. I think you handle it very well. I am going to give a quick shout-out just because you don't see anyone rock this anymore, but I believe that's Titanium White Standard Boost, which just looks so damn good. It really does.
I'm pretty sure you're correct about that. It looks really nice.
It is. So right here, this ball is now rolling along our back wall. You just watched your teammate get demoed. Basically, the fate of the world, Brick, falls within your hands.
Yeah.
All right? So, I'm with Season 4, I'm kind of explaining it out a little bit more so we can get the actual ideas behind your decisions. We're going to see this ball come down, and it's going to be a hairy situation, and you're going to attempt to clear it. I want to know, what would you like to happen in this situation where now you're last man back and you need to clear?
So this situation is probably one of the hardest, I feel like, to solve in especially 2v2s, because you're coming with the momentum towards the goal, and the natural angle to clear the ball is across the goal. And since you recently got demo, if I clear it across the goal, one of them can easily challenge it because you're not really a threat to a counter goal because you have just spawned back. So my idea and what I was thinking was that I need to control the ball and try and stall as much time as possible so I could perhaps force a 50-50 or something like that, and then you can clear the ball to the other side so we could get some time to get some boost. And
do you remember what you do?
Yeah, as far as I remember, I knocked the ball down to the ground, and then I air dribble it across them and just score an open goal.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I have written down clear. We're going to see a little touch there, and you're going to pop it over. You are going to get bumped, and your teammate is going to put a very nervy shot into the back of the goal. So I'll ask, is there anything in that situation, Brick, that you would have done differently? Or do you think you handled it as well as you could have?
I feel like I got lucky with the fact that he didn't actually challenge the ball that I knocked to the ground.
Okay.
He could have. I thought he should have made that read because his teammate was perfectly positioned in case I made the long clear. So he should really just focus on forcing a shot if I took it to the ground, and that was basically what I did.
Okay.
I think ideally I would have gotten a much stronger hit on the ball, so it got across the first player. So the second player had to commit for a pretty high aerial. In that case, you would be able to go up and then save this second shot.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, personally, hey, I got a goal out of it. I think you did great. Key moment number 2 is pretty quick, which is why I paused it. I promise on my screen, hey, that didn't look like that, but here we are. We're tied at 1. This next one, we're going to see a shot attempt from you. So I want to know, this ball's going to come around. You're going to get a nice little touch here. And with 13 boost in your back pocket, you're going to go up and you're going to take a shot here. You're going to attempt to take a shot. What is your ideal scenario when going for this ball?
So I feel like this situation is kind of a mixed bag because in one hand I know I'll be able to at least get to the ball before the first player on that team. So I should have a pretty good chance of getting a shot. But I only have 13 boost, which means that it really lacks my it gives me a lot less options for what I want to do with the, but they don't know that, so they have to play around me, perhaps not having that much boost. Although I just flew down from the ground, so I shouldn't have too much. So
all right, let me play it out, and then I'll give you part 2 of that question. So we're gonna see it up. So my part 2 is, obviously we're going to call it a little bit of a whiff. Is there anything you would do differently? And if so, what exactly?
I would say, first of all, I would have appreciated if I could hit the ball. I should have, of course, made a clean hit on the ball. I feel like the bounce kind of surprised me as it was a bit higher than I expected. So I jumped for something that was a lot lower, which meant that I should have used my double jump to just get up to the ball.
Okay.
But my idea of going for the shot was to flip into the ball to get some power on it. So I kind of made a mixed decision, which didn't really work at all.
Okay. So as far as the decision itself to go for that shot, are you glad that you did that?
Yeah, I needed to do that because I'm the one in position to take the shot. And as we could also see on the situation, like, if I could have hit the ball, I would at least have forced a 50-50, which perhaps could turn into something that you could get a good chance on.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's a great answer. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Is I think, again, in that scenario, you did the right thing. It just, unfortunately, didn't quite come off. Key moment number 3. We're transitioning real quick. Brick, right here. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to pause it right now. You just watched both orange teammates fly away from this ball, which means you now have plenty of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. You're not going to bang it. You're going to take possession. And I want to know, when you are taking possession, what's the hope? Is the hope to start a dribble? Is it to kind of 1v2? Is it just to build a bigger picture? What is that turn right there doing for you?
So first of all, the turn is giving me an overview of where are those. Like, instead of I could have also flickered my thumb stick to see where they were, but I feel like it gives me a better overview and it gives me more options because now I can go right and I can go left. If I keep on the other angle, I'll have to go towards the wall, and that really limits my options, especially if the flamenco player on the other team actually turned for the ball, which was a likely possibility if I had went for the dribble that way.
Yeah.
I would say the reason I'm not booming it is because I know both of them. So it will be stupid to boom the ball because they have 2 players that can control it. And they'll get possession and they'll have the chance to make something of a chance for themselves. The only reason there should be for me to boom it is because I only have 12 boosts, which limits my options when it comes to actually clearing the ball, but the opposite team doesn't really know that. So they'll have to play around the fact that I can make some bigger plays than I really can.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to play it out. We're going to watch the dribble commence. You're going to beat one, and then the second one does come up. So as far as, taking possession, taking control of that, are you glad to have done that? Would you change anything about it?
I feel like the decision was the right one, but the thing that makes it a bad play in the end is because I get a way too heavy touch on the ball. So I really ended up not controlling it. I have to go for a pretty bad 50-50, which I also end up not winning. So I feel like if I had gotten the right touch on it, so I could perhaps flicked it over the first guy, then it would have been a good decision and a good outcome. But it was a good decision with a bad outcome.
Okay. All right.
I'm
gonna
because of bad mechanics.
I also think so. I thought it was a great decision to turn there, which is why I really wanted to kind of highlight that. Now, key moment number 4. We're moving along right here. You just flipped into the wall. Brick, you're going to go for some type of contact off the wall. It might be a shot. It might be a pass. I'm going to ask you, what is your hope when going for this ball? Do you want to put it on target, or do you just want to get it in the general vicinity for your teammate?
Can I just get a little I wanted to see why I went for it, because it looks really odd.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit. Here, a little bit more. So right here.
Yes.
Comes down. Your teammate, I want to say, is going to get a 50 here. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Now it makes more sense.
Okay.
So the reason I'm going for the ball is because I know I can beat the Flamingo guy, because from the first time I saw it, I thought it was a bit risky for me to go for it because you're already forward. And Flamingo guy was turning towards the ball. But he has just challenged you. So I knew it would be a very hard read for him to turn perfectly and go for the ball. And I can also see I'm going to beat him to this ball. So unless I fully miss the ball, this is definitely the right decision. So what I'm basically going for here is any sort of hit towards their goal, because if I hit the goal, I'm putting the second player on that team that is not challenging in an awkward position, because he is kind of facing towards you. So he'll have to make a weird save on the backboard, likely, if I get the right amount of pace on it. And if it goes left of the goal, it will be a pass for you, possibly.
Okay.
And that's like the two most likely outcomes from the position I'm in currently. That one of those two things.
Okay. I'm gonna play it out, and then I'm gonna ask you if there's anything you'd change about it. So we get a hit. It's maybe not the hardest hit, but it is a hit. So is there anything about that you would do differently? Again, just focusing on the decision of, hey, you're going to beat one defender and trying to put contact on that ball.
I feel like it's a bit of the same as the last one, where I feel like the decision is the right one to make, but I feel like mechanics really ruins the good chance, because that chance would be a pretty good goal scoring opportunity, either for the straight-on shot or for a straight-on pass for you. But because I kind of scuffed the hit, and that's not a good shot either, but I kind of scuffed the hit, and then it ends up straight to Maya, which I would say from the place you paused it, I wouldn't have seen that as a very likely outcome, because I really have to make a bad hit for it to be good for her or him, but not for you.
Okay. All right. Again, I mean, this is the whole idea behind the series, and I'll mention, I don't think your teammate played that well. He let in 2 goals. So the ideas behind your decisions, especially Brick, to be honest, at a Grand Champ level, I mean, these are sound decisions. These are good decisions. I've been doing this a while now. I feel like I can finally commentate and say, I'm not complaining about any of your decisions. Unfortunately, just some of the mechanics, or maybe a little bit of the power isn't quite there. But here we are. We're getting ready for key moment number 5. And this is the one that I'm most interested in, because we're going to see you have 15 boost. In game, you even called out no boost. I got no boost. So I want to know right here, this ball is going to come along the wall. You're going to get a touch right there. And right here, while this is going up, you're going to turn. You're not going to bang this middle. So I want to know the decision to kind of bring this back down and control possession. What's the hope behind that?
So I'm currently at a position. It was good that you forwarded a bit, because now, I don't really have the pace to actually make it hit towards the goal. So at most, I'm gonna make a hit towards like the middle where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I remember, you recently challenged the ball and don't really have that much boost either. So if I just bang it off the, for instance, ceiling and put it towards you, I'm gonna put you in a very awkward situation.
Yeah.
The only thing that would really talk for me doing that is because the Mania player on the other team who's facing their backboard is turned away from the middle. So it will take some time for him to turn around and actually go for a hit. But I still feel like it's a very high risk play with very little reward.
Yeah. And that's,
unless you make
to be completely honest, Brick, that's exactly why I'm bringing it up, because hypothetically you could bang this middle to where your teammate is if he's ready, which I gotta be honest, your champ 1, champ 2 teammate after the season reset, who knows? I mean, he might be, he might not be. Instead, you're going to take possession, which is definitely the safer route. And I personally, as much as I would love to tell you, hey, I'm ready for a pass middle, I want to put us tied at 2 and have all the glory. The safe, smart decision here is to turn and kind of buy time. And I'm glad to see it. I am going to play it out, and then I'm going to ask you if you're going to do anything different just in hindsight, okay?
Yeah.
So this is going to come down, and there's going to be a 50-50 back into our own corner. But again, I mean, just focusing on the decision to, buy time, knowing that you don't have boost, are you glad to have done that? Would you change anything from that decision to keep possession?
So I would say one thing that also talks for controlling the ball rather than booming is if I go for some sort of flip or some sort of aerial, I have no boost to recover, so I'm basically useless for 2 to 3 seconds after my hits.
Exactly.
Which again puts you in a lot of pressure. But I feel like the thing I would change about that play was basically I should have taken it and controlled it more towards their backboard instead of controlling it straight down, because I ended up forcing a bad 50 where it puts it in our corner and wastes a lot of our time. Where I ideally should have controlled it so it went towards the corner, so I could force a 50 that perhaps either went straight out into the middle to you or went up onto the wall and perhaps through the arc went into the middle anyway. Like I need to get that 50-50 towards the middle to force a goal.
Okay.
And it ended up going towards our corner, which is a bad 50 on my part.
Well, here we are at the end. I mean, honestly, I know these might have... Just hearing yourself talk, Brick, I don't want you to beat yourself up. Again, your teammate made a ton of mistakes. I personally think that you made a ton of really smart, good decisions. Unfortunately, some of them just didn't come off. But I do ask 2 questions before everyone leaves. All right, and for Season 4, these questions are a little bit different. One of them remains the same, and that is, overall, are you happy with the decisions that you made in this game? Overall.
I feel like overall, the decision making was pretty good. I feel like there was some situations that wasn't highlighted where I could have challenged the ball instead of shadow defending. I feel like I shadow defended in general a lot more than I should have in this one. But I feel like the parts you picked out, I feel like the decision making in general was. I was pretty satisfied with the decision making overall, but perhaps not. Ironically, on the first goal, I would say that's probably the worst decision I made.
Okay.
Which ended up turning out into a goal. So that's
again, the whole idea behind the series is that sometimes you make the right decision and it doesn't work out, and sometimes you make the wrong decision and it does work out. That's the game of Rocket League, and sometimes that's the game of life. Brick, question number 2. All right, I didn't ask this, and maybe I should have, but do you believe watching this replay back and analyzing your decisions was helpful for you in the future?
I feel like in general, doing replay analysis, at least if you have ambitions with the game, is really, really important. But I feel like especially doing it with someone that also plays the game is even more important, because I feel like you get a lot of insights from players that are not yourself that can judge your gameplay. Because when it comes to yourself and how you play, people can tend to get a little tunnel vision about how they play and how they should play and what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. But fresh eyes can kind of ask, why didn't you do that? Or why didn't you do that? Which can be really good for yourself to improve how you play, especially in lower levels. I feel like
Okay.
there's a lot of smaller stuff that you usually don't think about you need to train, but really improves how you play, like flipping into boost, doing solid,
50-50s?
recoveries,
Oh, recoveries. Okay.
and also 50-50s for that matter. Like understanding how to go for 50-50s is also an important factor, but you don't really think about it. Like it's just something you do.
Yeah.
But at lower levels, it's good to be a little more structured about how do I play and how can I improve.
Well, I mean, Brick, you gave wonderful answers. These were great to hear, a lot to talk about. If anyone is watching and you're not at the GC level, I mean, honestly, I would watch this whole second part of the video back again, because, I mean, you're giving really helpful advice. But that's not the only helpful advice you get. Brick, I want you to talk about everything that you have going on, because it's quite a few things, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it.
So, like currently during these quarantine times, I have a lot more time on my hands, and I tend to spend it around the computer, like pretty much everyone else. So, I'm currently working on two different YouTube channels. My main one that you also mentioned, where I do a lot of Rocket League esports related stuff, and my second channel, which is much more focused around my own gameplay. Uh, and I try to make content for both of them. I should have something up for both channels this week,
Okay.
or depending on which week this one comes out.
It'll be a few weeks prior, but hey,
Yeah,
we're all good.
yeah, but there should be something fresh up by then on both channels. I sometimes tweet some funny stuff on Twitter, I guess, and I sometimes stream some speedruns on Twitch as well. Very low energy, low key stuff, but
Okay.
perhaps fun for people to watch if they are into workshop maps and speedruns in Rocket.
Perfect. Well, before we go, I'm going to link all of that down below. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we take off?
I feel like it's a good series you're doing. I feel like decision making and especially like micro adjustments is very overlooked in general when it comes to Rocket League. I feel like it's gotten a bit more focus on it recently. I feel like Goldfish makes really good videos about the very basic stuff that a lot of people don't really talk about. Is important around improving in Rocket League. But I also feel like series like this, where you get different people to talk about their views on their own playstyle and their own decision making, is really important for especially newer players to understand how they should process their own replays and what they can take from the videos to improve their own gameplay. I feel like there's something to take for pretty much everyone if they watch, for instance, GC replays, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Brick. You were awesome. Thank you so much. For everyone else, I want you to stick around just a little bit longer, and I'll give you my final takeaways. To start it off, Brick was an awesome guest. He gave great answers. Just the amount of knowledge this guy has, and especially someone coming over and allowing me to stir some stuff up from EU. I mean, Brick, this was an absolute blast. My most important takeaway is something that Brick alludes to, he talks about, and he brings it up in the final questions of the video, but how important it is to watch replays back. It's not in the video, but Brick and I discussed him doing that with a group of friends and how that really elevated his game. If you can find someone to watch a replay back, great. If you can do it, even better. Do it while you eat food. Do it while you're waiting for someone to get on. If you have any little moments and you're sick of free play, watch yourself back. I promise you, you're going to improve. Focus on you. Now, I'm going to end on one final thing because it's been incredibly hectic in the world. If you're watching this, the one thing I want to say right now is just be kind to others. It's incredibly difficult, the period that we live in, with the amount of injustice and all of the things that go on. The most important thing I think everyone can do right now is remember that everyone has it hard. Be kind to others. It's the biggest thing that I can implore you to do. So, Brick, you were awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being kind to me. All of his information is down below. Please go check him out. Even to the point that the day this is coming out, Brick has been streaming for 4 hours already. I mean, this dude is crushing it. He has a new video out recently. Enough about that. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. Comment down below about any of these key moments. Subscribe if you want to see more. Because we got more coming real soon. I'll talk to you then. Take care.